Harp on Sports, the Bar, podcast, media, audio, and radio network. What do we have in store for you on this edition of the program? Halfway Harpies, halfway through the NFL season. Going to look back on what we thought was going to happen, what we said was going to happen, and whether or not we have a shot at any of that happening when it comes to the National Football League. A couple things pretty close on, one or two things not even in the ballpark. So we're going to look at that. Also, Napier's next step. Oh my. The Florida Gators now sit at 5-4 and are going to be double-digit underdogs in at least one of their next three games. The LSU game would be a double-digit dog at Missouri after what they just put up a fight against Georgia. Ooh. And then Florida State at home. Probably going to have to win that Florida State game if you want to go bowling. How big of a deal is that? So we're going to look at that as well. Also, college football playoff. Down the stretch we come. Final 3 weeks of the regular season. And the college football conference championship games are also going to be Heisman Trophy platform games. It's going to be a fascinating finish here, what we could be looking at. Again, Harp on Sports, the Bar. You want to consume the show? Variety of ways you can do so. Twitter, at Harp on Sports. Instagram, at Harp on Sports. Harp on Sports, Auditory Route, Buzzsprout, Spotify, Apple Podcast, under Harp on Sports, the Bar. Harp on Sports Facebook page. Harp on Sports, the YouTube channel, and of course, harponsports.com. Let's start off with the Halfway Harpies, shall we? National Football League, what are we looking at here? How we do? What do we think was going to happen? Now, I'm not going to go through and do all the record predictions and everything that I thought and division winners and what have you. I can tell you this. Oh, actually, we can rip this off right now if you want. In the AFC, what did I have? Had the Chiefs winning their division. AFC West, they're in first place. AFC East, I had the Bills winning that division. Right now, they're tied with the Dolphins. Actually, they're not. They're behind the Dolphins, but yes. So, still got a shot at that one. AFC North, had the Bengals winning that division. AFC South had the Jaguars winning that division. Feel pretty good about where we are with this. The AFC, I feel pretty good. And when it was all said and done, I had the Bills over the Bengals. I know we just saw the exact opposite, but I had the Bills over the Bengals in the AFC Championship game. So, how do I feel about that right now? Not very good. If I could change my pick, what would I have? I'd have the Ravens over the Chiefs. Again, my preseason was Bills over the Bengals. Right now, I think it's the Ravens. The Ravens are the team to beat in the AFC. And Kansas City probably going to host, but we'll see. We'll see. So that's where we are in the AFC. In the NFC, I had the Cowboys over the Niners. Cowboys look good against the Eagles, just couldn't close that sucker out. We'd be talking about a totally different NFC view if the Cowboys would have beat the Eagles. They're still going to get a crack at them in Dallas. Probably going to beat them in Dallas. That's what I had in that layer. So what did I have in the division? I had the Cowboys winning the NFC East. NFC South, I had the Saints winning that. That division's a mess. In the West, I had the Niners. In the NFC North, what do we have there? We had the Lions. And when it was all said and done, I had the Cowboys over the Niners. And had the Cowboys losing to the Bills in the Super Bowl. So in the NFC right now, what would I do? I'd probably pick the Eagles over the Cowboys, or the Eagles over the Lions is probably what I would do in the NFC. The trick of that is if the Cowboys don't win that division, going on the road is going to be tough for them. And Minnesota's playing a lot better. I probably have the Cowboys. I probably have the Eagles over the Lions. So look, structure-wise, still in good shape. The Bills don't look to have the teeth that they had last year. I know it fell apart on them last year late, but they just can't compete with these big teams on the road. They just can't do it. Can't. Long way to go. Long way to go in this sucker. But at the halfway mark, there's where we sit. So, Bengals will probably be the AFC championship. AFC so much more top heavy. NFC, it's the Eagles and everybody else. The AFC could be the Bengals, could be the Chiefs, could be the Ravens, could be the Jaguars. So many different possibilities. My MVP, Was Dak Prescott. Again, touchdown late there. We're having a different story. Who's the MVP right now? The guy that's going to have the big surge coming up here is going to be Lamar Jackson. But Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes. I think Tyreek Hill's also there as well. There's no clear-cut favorite for MVP right now in the NFL. There's not. So right now, if you're picking, who would you pick? Probably Jalen Hurts right now. Defensive Player of the Year, I had Micah Parsons. Tough to argue against that. Biggest surprise in the NFL right now? Probably the Texans at 4-4. The Browns at 5-3. CJ Stroud. I said Rookie of the Year would be Bryce Young. Going to get that one wrong. CJ Stroud's having a monster year for a rookie. Monster year for a rookie. All coming together. And now, look, they don't have a pick this year in the draft. Had to surrender that to Arizona? But they're going to be cooking and getting free agents to come there. The Texans, they've got it figured out. Got it figured out. So, right now, halfway mark, a good season. There's some good teams. And it is wide open. It really, really is. In the AFC, again, Bengals could go to the Super Bowl. Chiefs could go to the Super Bowl. Ravens could go to the Super Bowl. The Jags are sitting there at 7-2. Who are their losses to? The Texans and the Chiefs? Or 6-2. I mean, the Jags having a good year. In the NFC, it's the Eagles, and realistically, the Eagles and the Cowboys and the Lions. Other than that, I don't. The Niners, not without Brock Purdy. It just, quarterback helps everything there. So there's where we sit at the halfway mark. You're a little halfway Harpies here. You're a new coach of the year and what have you. I mean, the job the Browns have done is amazing. That the Browns are sitting there at 5-3 and Deshaun Watson's been banged up. And, the fact that the Browns are on pace to win 10, 11 games this year is pretty crazy stuff when you think about it. AFC's loaded. AFC is loaded. All right. Going to pivot from that to a little college football final leg. 3 weeks to go in the regular season. Over the years, to think that we'd be here in November and Alabama would have a loss. Okay, it's happened. But the fact that they'd be the third highest ranked one-loss team is pretty remarkable. How do you get there? Because of Oregon's elite win. Oregon's had some elite wins. Oregon has the best loss, losing to Washington on the road. Texas's loss to Oklahoma, who's now kind of fallen apart. And they haven't fallen apart. They've lost tough games. So Texas is ahead of Alabama because Texas beat Alabama at Alabama. So I get this. I get this. And I'm looking at the college football playoff right now and where you sit and how they shuffle the top four around. You can fall in love, get mad, get upset, any way you want to look at it. Ohio State, all that Notre Dame win doesn't look as good after they lose to Clemson. Ohio State's got pretty decent wins, right? Penn State and Notre Dame. Florida State beating LSU, pretty decent win. Long time ago. That's why those games at the beginning of the year are high risk, high reward. Who else has decent wins? Michigan doesn't really have a decent win yet. Washington beat Oregon, decent win. Washington may have the best win in the country. So, and then, this stuff's going to figure itself out. If you really had to pick today, who would you pick? Well, Ohio State has to be in there. They've got the best wins, Penn State, Notre Dame. Florida State beating LSU, the wins that they have. I'd go Ohio State 1, Georgia 2. Now that Georgia's done what they've done to Missouri, Georgia, really wins wise, Ohio State 1, Washington or Florida State 2-3, Georgia 4 in terms of who's got the best wins. Michigan 5, Oregon 6, Texas 7, Alabama 8. That makes sense right now. So, but however you shuffle this, everybody's got to play each other. And coming up, Michigan, Penn State's gigantic. Because Penn State's out there lurking with a win. Penn State would jump Michigan, and Michigan would be in a lot of trouble. But Michigan, then Ohio State jump back up into this thing. So there's a lot of football to be played. A lot of football to be played with this. But here's what's fascinating about this. Here you have Alabama, who sits there at 8. Alabama could win out and beat Georgia and still be out. Of the one-loss teams, Alabama's got the toughest trek. They do. I guess you'd say Ole Miss does because Ole Miss can't catch Alabama. But look at the scenario. And again, long way to go, ifs and buts game. But if Alabama wins out, they hand Georgia a loss, right? Florida State's undefeated. Washington's undefeated. Ohio State and Michigan are undefeated. So pick one of those two. Ohio State goes undefeated. Washington goes undefeated. Florida State goes undefeated. Well, they'll put the SEC champion no matter what. Now, if Alabama beats Georgia and Texas runs the table and wins the Big 12, then you're debating at the end of the year, because your 3 undefeated teams are in, who goes? Texas, Big 12 champ, Alabama, SEC champ, and Texas will have a win under the belt at Alabama. Alabama winning out's not a cinch. It's not. Especially as this thing starts to define itself down the stretch. Again, a lot of football to be played here. Right now at this point, what school has the best chance to make the playoff? It's Florida State. Florida State is the school that has the best chance to make the playoff. Why? Because their toughest task is Louisville. Ohio State's toughest task is Michigan. Michigan's toughest task is Ohio State. So they've got, those two teams have the toughest game. Alabama's got Georgia. Texas has Oklahoma State probably, who's getting red hot. But Texas has a loss. Now, Washington still has to deal with Oregon again, more than likely. Big win over USC at the Coliseum. So the easiest trek is Florida State. Then the next easiest trek of the teams that are up there, probably Texas, but there's no guarantee with Texas because of all the other undefeated teams. And Texas got the best win. But if you have to rank all the undefeated teams, Florida State's got the easiest trek of any undefeated team, followed by who? Probably followed by Georgia. Georgia has to deal with Alabama, I get it, but I'd rather deal with Alabama right now than deal with Oregon if I was Washington. Conference championship game, Michigan-Ohio State winner. They'll have a cakewalk, but they'll be 20-point favorites. Here's what's amazing about this. Here are your potential right now 5 conference championship games. Washington, Oregon. Oh my gosh. You talk about a fun elite rematch. Florida State, Louisville. Even in a down year of the ACC, you could have Florida State in the top 4 and Louisville in the top 7 or 8 when we get to this. Louisville runs the table, but Louisville has an ugly loss, don't they, at Pitt? Michigan, Iowa. Ohio State, Iowa. Not a very pretty game. Texas, Oklahoma State. And then Georgia, Bama. Talk about a great final weekend. And if you didn't have the snake this year, if you had the snake or the divisions wiped away in the Big Ten, you'd have Ohio State, Michigan playing and then turning around playing right again. That'd be crazy. This game doesn't mean anything. The Ohio State, Michigan game would not mean anything this year. Except, I guess, if you win it in bragging rights to turn around and lose it the next week, and I don't know what that would mean. But how crazy is this? Of those conference championship games, what's the best one? Washington, Oregon, isn't it? Followed by Georgia, Bama. There are scenarios, and I'm not even being that unrealistic. If Michigan or Ohio State goes undefeated, Oregon goes undefeated, Florida State goes undefeated, Texas wins the Big 12, Alabama beats Georgia, the SEC's out. A lot of ifs there, right? If we're not quite there yet, but with 3 weeks to go, there we go. Also, think about this. The Ohio State-Michigan loser is going to be out of the Heisman race, whether it's McCarthy or Marvin Harrison Jr. It's going to be tough for Marvin Harrison Jr. to get up there statistically, but without a Big Ten championship game, he can't win it. Washington, Oregon gives you 2 potential Heisman candidates. Florida State, Louisville gives you 1. Michigan or Ohio State v. Iowa give you another 4. Texas, Oklahoma State doesn't give you 1. And Georgia, Alabama probably doesn't give you 1. So the Ohio State-Michigan winner on display in the Big Ten championship game. Florida State with Travis going up against Louisville, and Washington, Oregon giving you a Bo Nix, Michael Penix Jr. showdown. And that would be the first game. That'd be the Friday night. The Pac-12 championship game's Friday night. You talk about a good, strong, good gracious. Not only a college football playoff on the line, the Heisman. The college football playoff is going to be entirely decided in conference championship games. The Heisman Trophy will be decided in the conference championship games. See, the risk reward, the Michigan-Ohio State winner gets to put on a display in the Big Ten championship game. Gets to just pad some ridiculous numbers. Will that be taken against them? Because Washington, Oregon, Michael Penix Jr. or Bo Nix, I think, is going to win this sucker. I said it was going to be Bo Nix. We'll see. We shall see. One to wrap with this. Florida Gators, 5-2 at one point, heading into Georgia. Big win over South Carolina. Probably going to be their last win, gang. Going into LSU and winning. Maybe if Daniels is out, but even if he is out, going in there and winning. And then having to go to Missouri and win. That could get a little tricky. That could be a noon kick. There's some possibilities there. Maybe. But the way Missouri played against Georgia, no way. And then Florida State at home. Florida State's not that good. Okay. It's Florida. And for Billy Napier, this is, I said 7-5. Oh, no, 9 wins, 10 wins. Okay, you guys believe what you want. I say 7-5, and I'm going to be wrong. I overestimated this team at 7-5. 6-6 if you're lucky. 6-6 if you're lucky. Got to go 1-2 to get to 6-6. So if you beat Missouri, then you lose to LSU, lose to Florida State, fine. Got to get one win in here somewhere. To get to 7-5, you're going to go 2-1. So 6-6, you're staring at what? 6-6, you're probably staring at an early bowl game. The Arkansas game was gigantic. But, going to a bowl, yeah, you'd like it. But I look back to 2 years ago, Mike Norvell's second year at Florida State. They lose to Florida at the end of the year. They don't go to a bowl. The next year, quarterback, everything comes into play. They win 10 games. DJ Lagaway, he's going to have to be a hero as a freshman. Team's got a tough schedule next year. You still have Georgia. Then you got Oklahoma in there and Miami to start in the swamp. It's going to be tough. Going to be a tough road next year for the Gators. But Billy Napier, top 5 class coming in. To say that this team is progressing, going to have to beat Florida State. You can say they could beat LSU and lose the next 2. I know. But in order to take a step, there's got to be, beating Tennessee here. Oh, okay. Beating Utah here. Okay. But knocking Florida State out of the national championship picture, that's the only thing that's going to quench the thirst of this fan base. Beating LSU without their starting quarterback, yeah, I get. Or going in there and even beating them, nice. Beating Missouri. Florida State game is the most important of the final 3. Did really make an impact. But Florida State's going to smell blood. And atmosphere, yeah, I get it, but I haven't seen anything from Florida that makes me feel that they can. I haven't seen anything from Florida in the last few weeks that makes me think they can stay within two scores of these teams. So what's it mean for Napier? Look, he's going to limp to the finish. If you can get to a bowl game and you get to Birmingham, I don't know, you're going to play Arkansas State or somebody like I don't know what that means. You don't, like this team going 6-6 and having to play like Clemson in the Gator Bowl. Oh my God, you're going to get worked. Even a team like Georgia Tech in the Gator Bowl, you're going to have your hands full with a team like that. Some of the projections said before the Arkansas game, like Duke in the Music City Bowl or in Charlotte, was it the Mayo Bowl? Some games like that. So with the Gators at this point, you're going to find out how hard they're going to play for Billy down the stretch. Put him in position to win one of the 3. One of these games, it'll be a 1-score game in the third quarter. Is it enough? But he's going to get another year, and next year, is 7-5 going to be enough next year? I don't know. Billy Napier going to get like the Scott Frost treatment. I know Scott played at Nebraska, but he was given into that 4th and 5th, right? He's given that extra shot. So marquee wins, ugly losses for Florida, right? Last year it was Vanderbilt. This year it's Arkansas. Kind of wipe out the Tennessee win and the Utah wins. We got to win one. But going 6-6 and going to a bowl game and getting beat, it's better to go 5-7 and not go. I think you want to get that next step, even if it is Birmingham. Just get a bowl win under your belt, because getting worked by Oklahoma 3 years ago, losing to UCF, getting worked by Oregon State. I don't know if getting worked by Clemson doesn't. You want to give yourself a shot, but a lot of these guys will probably hang around too in a bowl game setting, because you're playing for their future with, this stud class coming in. There was a day and time, extra 10 practices, extra 15 practices. Oh, yeah. Florida's not going to be in the extra 15 practices mode, because it's going to be a pre-December 17th, 18th bowl game. We'll see. What's next for Napier? In order for this to be a successful season, it's not going to be. Got to beat Florida State. Beat LSU, beat Missouri, lose to Florida State. Fine, but come on. Be realistic here. And Florida State may be the best shot, although I don't think it's much of a shot. Team's going to go 5-7. Harp on Sports, the Bar, podcast, media, audio, radio network. Follow, share, like, subscribe at Harp on Sports Twitter, at Harp on Sports Instagram, Harp on Sports, Auditory Route, Buzzsprout, Spotify, Apple Podcast, on Harp on Sports, the Bar, Harp on Sports Facebook page, Harp on Sports, the YouTube channel, the Bar, and of course, harponsports.com. Remember, stay clean, stay focused, stay strong. Frankenstein, have fun with your friends.